Hi everyone, my name is Jerry Wise and I'm a life and relationship coach. I've been helping people for 40 years to achieve a greater sense of self-differentiation and working on their family relationships, marital relationships, friend relationships, and the struggles that they have had with relationships. I specialize in adult children of alcoholics, adult children of narcissists, and I want to speak to the ACOAs and the ACONs and those who grew up in dysfunctional families, and particularly around this virus crisis that we've been having. This video is entitled Adult Children of Alcoholics and the Coronavirus Crisis. I've been talking a lot with clients who are adult children of alcoholics, and this crisis has been a real big punch to the gut for many people. And I'm not sure just ACOAs or ACONs, but for all of us, it's a punch in the gut. But I think it's particularly acute for those who grew up in dysfunctional families. They have felt like they've been regressing back to being more childlike inside, or they feel more like a child, even though they may be a 50-year adult. They feel like they felt less adult-like and more childlike, and it feels very disorienting to them. Even if they've been doing well for quite some time in their recovery and in their work, they're finding this crisis as being something that's dredging up some things from long ago. Many are struggling with a new awareness of their reactivity. They're finding themselves being more reactive. And they've reported these kinds of things to me. They've felt isolated, having a sense of loss, a loss of normal support, the difficulties in not being able to hug other people that they care about. And you have to, say goodbye to your grandchildren without hugging them, or relatives come to the door and you speak to them, but you don't want to have them come in. And it's really been a difficult time. Others have reported having bad dreams, having nightmares. And again, they've said, I haven't had those for, a long, long time. Now they're starting to experience some nightmares and some bad dreams. There's a widespread fear of scarcity, fear of abandonment, feeling a strong sense of victimhood that they hadn't had for a while. Unhealthy family members may have become more dependent or needy on them, particularly unhealthy family members. A loss of identity, feeling more caught up in chaos and drama that they had left behind long ago. A tendency to avoid feelings. They might feel nervous and anxious and have difficulty calming down. They have become more reactors than actors, and so they find themselves overreacting. They have reduced their self-care because they feel more lethargic. They might even feel depressed. There are some who have gone out and bought I had one client bought $1,500 worth of groceries so that if somebody around her, she would have food for them. And again, it's that over-functioning part. Not that it's not kind on her part, but it's that over-functioning ACOA part that will go out and buy all these things to make sure everybody's okay, because we learned that long ago. There can be increased anger. They've reported resentment, feeling hurt, even pain. Have had several ACOAs have had gut pain, chest pain, back pain, again, that they haven't had for a long time. They've reported judging themselves more harshly and other people as well. They have this higher anxiety due to an uncertain future and many other symptoms as well. But most all of these symptoms connect with the adult child of an alcoholic symptoms. And if you read Janet Woititz's book, Woitiz, she talks about the 14 characteristics of an adult child of an alcoholic. And those symptoms really get triggered and have during this crisis. And one of the reasons why it does is because our society and the crisis that is happening, our society turns more into like our alcoholic home growing up. And that our society is that dysfunctional family that we grew up in, and how people treat each other at the grocery store, how there's scarcity, and those kinds of problems arise. And again, society becomes a larger family of origin, but one that's dysfunctional, and we find ourselves operating in that. ACOAs will report denial, anger, high anxiety, irrational responses, worried about the unpredictability of other people, a focus on the crisis and not on themselves or people, a loss of freedom, scarcity of things we want and need. There is the coronavirus, and then there's the emotional virus, which has infected everyone. And that emotional virus will hit a number of people in different ways. And for ACOAs and ACONs, it really can be a punch to the gut. This crisis can trigger our traumas from growing up. So remember that. I'm going to talk more about how societies like that alcoholic family that we grew up in. What we certainly want to do is to work to detach from the drama and the chaos, make a place of solace and peace at home and in your own life, taking extra care to do that. We want to feel our feelings. We want to explore the history of our feelings. If we're feeling angry, resentful, take a look at where we learned anger, resentment, fear. Take a look back where you learned that. It will give you information and insight into what you're feeling now as a result of the crisis. See how the crisis and everything happening around you is a repeat of growing up in an alcoholic family or a dysfunctional family. And by doing that, I think we can gain some distance from the crisis and gain some detachment. If we can see, hey, these are old feelings that are being dug up, and these are old reactivities that we have. Also, with the reduced travel, and don't go out unless it's essential kind of rules. Well, of course, that's a go to your room. We're all told by society to go to your room and stay there. Go to your house and stay there. Well, for many of folks who grew up in dysfunctional homes, go to your room and stay there was not a pleasant thing. And it was very difficult. And then we end up being isolated there. Well, being isolated growing up was very common. We have parents who are parents or leaders are fighting. Our parents fought growing up, now the leaders are fighting. Politicians, health professionals. The governor says one thing, the president says another, the health officials say another. And everybody's fighting about the data, the information, what you should do. And that raises our anxiety that my parents are not being adult for me right now. And many times our leaders aren't being adults for us right now. We certainly have an uncertainty of the future, which we experienced growing up as well. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's dad going to be like when he comes home drunk after work? He stops by the bar and comes home, and what's that going to be like? Every day, we don't know what's going to happen. And in a crisis, every day you don't know what's going to happen. And that mirrors the growing up in a dysfunctional home. Fear sets in with scarcity and loss. For many ACONs or ACOAs, they grew up with some poverty or some financial insecurity. I don't know if there's going to be enough food. We were poor. Dad was an alcoholic. Mom was an alcoholic. We didn't have much. In fact, I had to go scrounge around for things, you might say, if you were growing up. And so scarcity is a problem and a fear and a loss of that security. and loss of, everything's going to be okay. We didn't have parents telling us everything's going to be okay. I'm going to be here for you as a parent, share with me your feelings. That wasn't happening in alcoholic homes. It wasn't happening in adult children in narcissistic homes. The narcissist didn't care what you were feeling or thinking, or the narcissistic parent. It's just, come on, just grow up and stop crying. Why is this bothering you? So we can feel shut down and not heard. And if we're isolated, then we don't feel heard. There can be increased anxiety at work, in which bosses can become more demanding or more reactive at work. And we find relationships can struggle there also. I've also talked in the past about how workplaces end up being alcoholic families, but it's called the workplace, and it acts very much like an alcoholic home. And we wonder why we struggle with that, because it's very much acting like what we knew when we grew up. Marriage relationships can become tense and stressful, and so your home becomes more like the home you grew up in. Even though it might have been calm for a while, now it gets disrupted with the virus. I have many couples arguing about the coronavirus, about being quarantined and restricted movements. One husband's mad that the wife went out to the grocery store, now it's come back and infected the kids. And then they got to argue over that even very intensely. And they will fight over, well, do you think we should have this trip or should not take this trip? And then they will disagree on how safe and what you should do to keep yourself safe. And if they disagree, then that becomes more tension and stress in the family. And when they're stressed, that pushes enmeshment. And that's that if you don't agree with my beliefs, then you're wrong. And I'm angry and resentful at you. Because you have to believe exactly the way I believe. When we all believe a little different about the virus and about the crisis. We all have some different opinions. We all have differing experiences of knowledge or science or just awareness of things. And so we're going to disagree. We want to be sure to allow others to have their fears, have their opinions and beliefs, and even irrational beliefs, conspiracy theories, which I've heard for weeks now, and don't try to change others. Just hold on to your own opinions and your own beliefs. Be self-differentiated. It's you stay on your side of the tennis net, as I use the tennis court analogy. You stay on your side of the tennis net, I'll stay on my side of the tennis net. You can have all those beliefs you want, and these are my beliefs. I may not believe that particular conspiracy theory, but you can if you want to. I hope it doesn't get you too reactive about that. And certainly I don't know everything about what's going on in the world or what's happened and all of those kinds of things, and we have to rely on information we're given because it's not firsthand for me. So we all have to rely on what we're being told. Be careful about, as an adult child of an alcoholic, doing greater amounts of people-pleasing, being over-responsible, and having no boundaries. Be careful about being pushed into that as a result of the crisis. Take care of yourself, not just take care of others. Resist over-functioning, which is easy to do. You are not responsible for everything and everyone. In my own life, as I see clients, I use a portion of that money to help other people who are around and who are friends of mine who are out of work. They're laid off. They may only go live from check to check. And so how can I take my limited abundance and be of help to them and help them through this difficult time? I can't save the whole world, but I can be a help to those who are right on that edge. Learn to say no, or keep saying no. It's okay to say no. You don't have to please everyone because they are anxious, upset, or fearful. You don't have to please them. And you are not responsible or the cause of their feelings. And again, if somebody's upset and then they share some knowledge or what they believe they have knowledge about the coronavirus, and I don't agree with it, then they can get irritable and upset with me. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't have to share that same belief, and it's okay for you to believe that, but I'm not going to feel forced to have to believe what you believe. I could be wrong, but I could be wrong about anything in life. I can only go by what my subjectivity and what my paradigm is. I can't live out of your paradigm. I can only live out of mine. And so, this is my best guess at these. This is your best guess. And we're both just human, and we both can err. And that's okay. That's going to happen. Be careful about ignoring your own feelings and your own impulses. Identify and explore your feelings. Don't just push them down and deny them. And I've had greater number of clients doing that because they feel more stressed and anxious, and they can't, and they're cutting off that healthy feelings that they have so they can identify what's going on with them. Because for so many years they block their feelings and they push them down. ACOAs and ACONs are experts at doing that to survive. Not because they're defective or worthless or bad or stupid, that's what they learned growing up after years and years of experience. Controlling other people, which is another thing ACOAs might tend to do, and we learn to control other people because we had to control other people or work at controlling other people so that we could survive. And so we might tend to find ourselves doing that more during this crisis. Let go of control. Control you, not all of your environment or all the others around you. Let your family have their feelings, their actions, accept them. It's okay to have boundaries. And if someone is out, doesn't care about picking up the virus and is out there being maybe irresponsible in that way, you can have boundaries and say, hey, we can get together after the crisis is over. I don't want you to come and infect grandma, grandpa, kids, or whatever. That's your choice to just go do whatever you're doing. This is my choice to feel safe and to be responsible. Perfectionism is another concern we would have for ACOAs. Resist black and white thinking and right and wrong thinking. There's only A or B, right or wrong, black or white, all or nothing. And that's A and B thinking, which can keep us stuck and keep us very frustrated. Look for the C options. In other words, it may not be this, it may not be this. Okay, what's a third option that I could have? And usually those option C's are much more healthy. And usually an option C means I accept and take care of me, and I accept you. I don't have to do what you do, you don't have to do what I do, and I still love and regard you. Seeing myself as a victim. Another thing that happens with ACOAs and ACONs, you are not a victim, but an actor and a participant in your life. You're an adult now, and you have an adult who can parent the inner child, take care of the inner child, use the adult to act and for executive functioning, use the inner child to know what's going on inside of you and deep inside of you. How is that inner child doing with the crisis? How's the little Jerry doing with the crisis? How's the big Jerry doing with the crisis? And those are two different parts of us that we want to keep in touch with. And I do recommend like Inner Bonding by Margaret Paul and books like that, Charles Whitfield, Healing the Child Within, that we are aware of our inner child and how's that inner child dealing with the coronavirus. it seems like it's just us that's kind of out of control as adults, when it may be the inner child that's kind of out of control. We've been functioning well for a while. Now we need to recheck in with that inner child and see how they're doing with the crisis. How is your little you doing inside there? Reading into other people's actions and thoughts and beliefs or words. It's very easy to do, particularly if we're highly charged or sensitive or reactive. It's very easy to read into other people's actions, their telephone calls, what they say to you. And so we want to be very careful about reading into other people's actions. Many times, if I start to read into what they're saying, what they're thinking, I might stop and say, hey, I'm confused. Let me see if I'm clear. Is this what you're saying? Or could you explain that to me? Rather than me just jumping to the conclusion and reading into everything they're saying and doing. It's easy to do. Stop. Be calm. Calmness is everything. In a video that I did that's about an hour and a half long, calmness is everything. Stop. Be calm. Think versus reacting. And be generous with your interpretations of others. You want to be generous in your interpretation of what others are saying or doing. And remember, they're under an awful lot of stress too. The whole society is under stress. At the grocery store, and if they're not quite as polite, not quite as, then we give them a break and go, hey, let me just do my stuff and just go on. I might even say a positive word to them, and say, I know it must be difficult. I wanted to share some of these things with you because I know the crisis has really affected a lot of people, and a lot of people I've been talking to and who are clients of mine. I hope that you will visit my website, www.jerrywiserelationshipsystems.com, and I hope you'll join the site. You can do that by logging in and just putting your email address in there. I hope you'll join my YouTube channel, this channel that this video is on, Jerry Wise Relationship Systems, and I hope you'll subscribe to the channel so you get all the new videos. Join my Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. We're putting a whole bunch of new things up on there. And on Facebook, I'm starting to do more live videos or live broadcasts on Facebook. There's lots of new things coming. I appreciate you listening to me today, and I hope you will be safe. Take care of yourself. Be generous with others. Not over-functioning, be generous. There's a difference. Be generous with others and work to be calm. Calm will help you see it through. Thanks for watching.